Welcome to the deep dive. You bring the curiosity, we bring the clarity, sort of sifting through the sources to extract what really matters for you.
Exactly. And today, we're plunging into the first chapter of Violeta Digital, a novella of code and conscience.
Our mission for you today is, well, to navigate this opening chapter. We want to zero in on the essential stuff, especially this character, Alberto Daniel Hill, and how the author really sets the scene.
Yeah, the goal is for you to walk away feeling informed, like you've got a solid handle on it, but definitely not overwhelmed.
Precisely. Our source today is just that first chapter. Fiction, but grounded. The author drops us right in. Late night Montevideo, Alberto Hill's in his home office. Outside, the city's quiet almost. Too quiet, but the wind's rattling the windows. It's this great contrast. You feel it mirrors Alberto's own inner turmoil.
And what really grabs you immediately is Alberto's backstory. I mean, he's labeled as the first hacker in Uruguay to actually do prison time for a computer crime. But, and this is key, he was acquitted 4 years ago after this incredibly long, 8-year ordeal.
8 years. Wow.
So even though he's cleared legally, the whole thing has clearly left, deep scars. The text says the acquittal felt hollow.
Yeah, you can just feel that. A legal win that doesn't feel like a win at all. The psychic weight must be immense.
And he poured some of that into his book, Operation Bitcoins, Log Into Hell.
That title, all caps.
Right. It screams catharsis, doesn't it? It was his way of breaking down the system he felt chewed him up. And also a warning. The reception sounds mixed, understood by some, maybe viewed suspiciously by others.
I can imagine. And it's fascinating to see where he is now contrasted with that past. He's architecting security protocols for a DeFi platform.
Yeah, decentralized finance. So finance built on the blockchain. It's cutting-edge stuff.
So after being accused of, manipulating digital systems, he's now building their security. That speaks volumes about his journey.
It really does. And it wasn't like a slow drift back either. He founded his own company, Cryptocurrency Services, back in 2016.
Pretty soon after leaving a good job at ANC Capi, the national fuel company.
Which feels like a statement, right?
Yeah.
A deliberate move away from those big traditional structures.
Yeah.
Suggests someone with strong convictions about his own path.
Absolutely. And his credentials, they back it up. This isn't someone who just fell into it.
No way. He's got a computer engineering degree from the Universidad de la República. We're talking over 20 years in InfoSec.
Plus, a PMP certification, that's Project Management Professional, shows real discipline.
And an ISACA Cybersecurity Fundamentals Certificate. And get this, platinum membership in ISAC.
ISACA, the big IT governance and security organization.
The very same. There's a definite irony there, isn't there? Given his history as, an accused hacker.
It's like the establishment kind of embracing the very person they once condemned. It shows how perceptions can change.
Definitely. And he's not just collecting certificates. He writes prolifically.
Yeah.
Hawken 9, Digital Forensics Magazine, Cointelegraph.
Covering cybersecurity, crypto. He's right in the thick of it.
And he's got more books coming out. NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and advanced pen testing. So he's deeply embedded and respected in the field now.
And there are these side projects, too, like the hashtag Hacker13327 NFT Club.
Yeah, for hackers and cybersecurity pros. That 1337, it's lead speak for elite, right?
Exactly. It's like a signal, a nod to that specific online culture. If you know, you know.
And his personal motto seems important, too. Human knowledge belongs to the world.
You see that reflected in his public talks, his podcast Cyber Midnight Club, where he plays the sort of professor/digital detective tackling tricky subjects.
This is right back to that shadow hanging over him, the accusation of hacking that private medical record system.
And his side of the story is crucial here.
He claims he just found a major security flaw during an assessment. Standard procedure, right? Documented it, tried to report it ethically.
But instead of getting a thank you,
he got framed. The clinic panicked about their reputation. The police maybe didn't quite grasp the tech side. And boom, he's the bad guy.
It's a story you hear sometimes, unfortunately. Good intentions meeting a system that isn't ready or willing to understand.
And that detail about the USB stick.
Ah, man.
What was that again? University lecture notes and some standard open source tools. But Inspector Vargas apparently called them complex hacking algorithms.
Seriously, that just shows the level of misunderstanding he was up against. It feels fundamentally unjust.
You can sense his frustration simmering under the surface, and the memories of prison are described so vividly: damp concrete, stale smoke, the taste of fear.
Even trying to explain blockchain to a cellmate who stole cars. It just highlights the absurdity and his isolation.
And Operation Bitcoins came directly out of that feeling of helplessness, mostly written longhand in prison.
A real indictment, then, of the legal system, the police, how society just didn't get his world.
The text even notes the word sad appears 22 times. That tells you something about the emotional core of it. It shows how writing can be a response to trauma, a critique.
So now, fast forward, he's focused on rebuilding cryptocurrency services. Started with a loan from his dad.
Right. The SAS probably refers to the company type, like a simplified joint stock company. Very common structure.
Humble beginnings, it sounds like. Working from his kitchen, drinking mate.
Yeah, first clients were local Uruguayan fintech startups. It seems his reputation grew organically.
Based on his actual skills solving problems, building secure systems, and being able to explain really complex stuff clearly.
And that PMP certification keeps coming up. It reinforces this idea of professionalism, reliability. It pushes back against that hacker stereotype.
And the Isaac Platinum membership, it really does feel like this strange dance, insider and outsider at the same time.
Totally. And hashtag Hacker3337 isn't just a cool name. It serves a purpose.
Yeah.
It's a space for people who get the power and the danger of their skills. The leet speak is like a password.
And just before things take a turn, we see him researching his next podcast episode. Something about GPS spoofing and maritime piracy.
The Phantom Fleet, yeah. It shows his mind is still constantly working, exploring these complex digital threats.
Okay, so we have this really detailed portrait of Alberto, his past trauma, his current success, his principles, and then late at night, everything changes.
Right, this weird chime. From a part of his server setup that's rarely used, heavily firewalled, just having that suggests he expects or needs very secure off-grid communication sometimes.
And he's instantly alert. He knows this isn't some random notification. The connection itself is super suspicious.
Routed through multiple continents, custom encryption, maybe military grade. For someone like Alberto, that's alarm bells ringing loud.
And notice his reaction. He tries to trace it, but not necessarily to find out who it is, more to figure out the threat level.
That's the pro response, isn't it?
Okay.
Assess the danger first. He probably knows unmasking them directly would be nearly impossible anyway.
Then the message pops up. Greetings! At Daniel Hill, we have a proposition.
And that handle, at Daniel Hill, that's significant. It's an old one from the deeper parts of the internet. Not many people would know how to reach him that way.
So this isn't random spam.
Definitely not.
Wow.
It's targeted. Very targeted. His reply is cautious, as you'd expect. Who is this?
The response comes back almost instantly. A friend, or perhaps a fellow traveler. We go by Violeta.
So much ambiguity there. Fellow traveler hints at shared ideals, maybe. Shared enemies.
And the name Violeta, it means nothing to him. Doesn't register in his mental database of contacts or groups.
Which suggests they're either brand new or incredibly good at staying hidden. His next question is smart. Travelers go where? Still cautious, probing for intent.
And Violeta answers. Towards a more transparent world, Alberto, one where knowledge truly belongs to everyone. We believe you share that destination.
Wow. They're quoting his personal motto back at him.
They've absolutely done their homework. They know exactly which buttons to push.
This confirms it's a highly tailored approach. And you get that line about the cold knot forming in his stomach, that visceral fear. He knows this is serious, potentially life-changing.
Okay, so Violeta's made contact, used his old handle, quoted his motto. What's the actual proposition?
They get right into it. Uruguay is not as clean as it seems, is it? The pearl of Latin America has its blemishes. We are interested in bringing some of them to light.
So, straight up talking about corruption.
Yeah, but not necessarily at, like, bribes in brown envelopes. More the subtle kind. Backroom deals, regulations being bent for the well-connected, the kind of stuff that benefits a few at the expense of many.
And it can be really hard to pin down that sort of thing.
Violeta give a specific example. Water. Becoming a commodity for the rich, rivers getting choked by industry, while regular people face shortages.
And this connects directly to a real crisis mentioned in the novella, the recent water shortages in Montevideo, the high salt levels in the tap water.
Exactly. The story grounds itself in that reality. It even mentions the protests and that chant, no sequía, es sequío. It's not drought, it's plunder.
That really hits home, suggesting people felt it wasn't just nature, but deliberate policy or mismanagement. Betrayal, even.
And we learn Alberto's been following this closely himself, analyzing the official stories, the corporate denials. He even used water infrastructure security as a hypothetical on his podcast.
So this issue is already on his radar. It resonates with him intellectually.
Which makes Violeta's next line the hook. We have data, Alberto. Data that could expose the plunder. Data that needs a steady hand to guide it into the light. Your hand, perhaps.
Data, that word just hangs there. What kind, where from, and why him?
And this immediately throws Alberto into conflict. All that past trauma screams, run, don't get involved, protect the life you rebuilt.
Yeah.
But his own experience of injustice, that deep-seated sense that things aren't right, it makes him reluctantly open. He can't just dismiss it out of hand.
He must be thinking about his reputation, too. How easily this could undo everything, paint him as a criminal again.
And his father's support, his team's trust, it all weighs on him.
Violeta seems to know this. They say something like, they don't see his past as a stain.
Exactly. They say, we see it not as a stain, but as a testament to your resilience and your firsthand knowledge of the enemy. Trying to turn his biggest vulnerability into his unique qualification. Clever.
Very clever. So he's on the horns of a dilemma. What's going through his head, practically?
Well, he starts thinking about the actual work involved. Handling this kind of data. It needs serious skills. Verification, forensic analysis, secure storage, how to release it, the whole strategy.
And the risk. The massive personal risk. He could end up back in prison, easily framed as a cyber terrorist this time.
That warning from his lawyer must be ringing in his ears. You have a target on your back because you're intelligent and you make them uncomfortable.
Yeah. Powerful people don't like being made uncomfortable.
He's also trying to figure out Violeta. Who are they really? Idealists? Foreign agents? Someone setting him up? The anonymity makes it impossible to know.
But then his mind goes back to those water protests, that feeling of plunder. Maybe he feels a connection there, having felt plundered by the system himself.
It's this intense internal battle, isn't it? The desire for peace versus his core idealism. Past trauma versus past injustice.
He needs more information. He can't just say yes, but he can't just walk away either.
So his reply is cautious but open. What kind of data? And what exactly do you expect from me? Keeping the door ajar but not committing.
And Violeta comes back strong. Proof, Alberto. Proof of collusion, negligence, and illicit enrichment.
Wow. Specific allegations.
And then they add, as for what we expect, your expertise, your guidance, perhaps your conscience.
Hitting him right in the conscience again. That's their angle.
It seems effective. He pictures the tarnished scales of justice. It's his own experience reflected back at him. He's literally weighing his freedom against fighting corruption.
Asking himself, maybe, is this a chance to do more than just write about injustice? To actually do something?
And as dawn breaks outside his window, you feel it. A new chapter is starting, and it feels dangerous.
Yeah, the final moments of the chapter are packed with meaning. He thinks about the name Violeta. What could it signify? Protests, human rights, feminism? Is it a clue or a red herring?
He tries a quick search, nothing. On Violeta, on their encryption methods, 0. They are ghosts.
Which highlights their skill, their operational security. They know what they're doing.
And then he remembers something an old political prisoner told him about the fights you fight, even if you know you might lose.
The most important fights are the ones you know you might not win, but you fight anyway. That's a heavy piece of wisdom to recall right now.
He thinks about his sister Laura, too, what she might advise. Follow his conscience, probably.
And that leads to his decision, or at least his next step, his final question in the exchange. Where and when?
He's in, or at least he's willing to hear more.
It's a huge moment. And Violeta's response is chilling. Details to follow. Secure your comms. Burn this channel after receipt. Welcome to the flame, Alberto.
Welcome to the flame. Oof. For a guy who just escaped one fire? That sounds ominous. Final, almost.
Absolutely. It lands heavily. And his actions are immediate. Copy the routing data. Start the secure wipe. Professional instincts kicking right back in. He knows the stakes.
He looks out the window. Montevideo looks peaceful, but now he knows, or suspects, what lies beneath. That hidden corruption, the discontent Violeta mentioned.
And the ghost of his past isn't just haunting him anymore. It feels present, active. A warning, yes, but also maybe a temptation to use his skills for something big.
His quiet, rebuild life, it's over. A dangerous new phase has just begun.
So let's quickly recap this deep dive for you. We've met Alberto Hill, a brilliant cybersecurity mind, but deeply marked by a wrongful conviction. He's painstakingly rebuilt his life and career.
And now, out of the blue, this anonymous group, Violeta, contacts him. They offer him data, proof of serious corruption tied to Uruguay's water crisis.
They appeal directly to his skills, his past experiences, and crucially, his conscience. It forces him into this intense internal conflict.
You should have a clear picture now of this complex setup. You can feel the weight on Alberto's personal safety, his reputation, his family's peace, all balanced against this chance to fight a major injustice.
Yeah, the stage is set for a really compelling story.
And that leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. Put yourself in Alberto's position. What would you do? How do you weigh those immense personal risks against the potential for real positive change?
What responsibility, if any, do people with specialized skills like Alberto's tech skills have when they encounter evidence of serious wrongdoing? Think about the power of technology and individual conscience in potentially holding powerful interests accountable.
Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.